Somebody asked, like, really interested, like, was it really kind of, you already mentioned Jordan Peterson's lectures that really sort of sent you down this road to Catholicism? How did that begin? How did you first come in contact with him, and what was that like? Yeah, it's Cecilia. She says, what made you want to start watching the Jordan Peterson biblical series?
I don't specifically remember how I ended up there. I think I saw something about him and his 12 rules on the internet somewhere, and I didn't even realize at first that it was a book. I think it was. I just thought it was like a meme that someone had created of these 12 rules, and it's they resonated with me. And then I discovered that it was an actual book, and I read his book, and then I started watching his YouTube channel, and I think I was watching his videos for quite a while before I even delved into the biblical series, because they looked very long, and I had a lot of prejudice towards religious thinking, and I thought, oh, this is going to be a load of crazy, boring stuff. But when I watched the first one, I was just addicted, and I just watched all of them. I watched them multiple times, and I was just blown away. I'd never heard the Bible spoken about in that way, and it didn't really convert me to Christianity or Catholicism right there. All it really did is it just opened the door. It was like the gateway drug. It just kind of broke down the prejudiced way of viewing religion that I had. This idea that the Bible is this silly book written by, as Lawrence Krauss, the renowned atheist, says, ignorant Bronze Age peasants. That was kind of the way I thought of it, in this very arrogant way of thinking of the Bible, that it was just written by ignorant people from the past. And Jordan really just opened the door for me to understand that, it was written by people who lived in an era before science, but they were by no means ignorant at all. And like he says that it's not just that these stories are true, but they're so true that it's really hard to understand how a human being even wrote them. And I guess that's why we call them the Word of God.
Wow.
And I mean, from Jordan Peterson, I just started delving into all of the debates about God's existence. I watched multiple debates between, Sam Harris and William Lane Craig and Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens, like all the famous debates on God's existence. And I started reading books, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And I just couldn't find an argument that convinced me that atheism was true. And I found multiple arguments that convinced me that Christianity was true and Catholicism was true. And
how did you start looking into Catholicism then? I mean, you go from Jordan Peterson, who's taking away these prejudices, as you say, he's like a gateway drug. I love that. And then you start listening to these sort of atheist debates. What is it that sort of led you into thinking about Catholicism?
Well, I think part of it is the fact that I live in a predominantly Catholic country. I live in Colombia in South America, and I've been here for 6 years, and it's very, very different culture here to the United Kingdom. This is a culture that still holds on in many ways to having religion as part of the culture. And that really influenced me just in itself, just seeing how beautiful that was. Colombia is a country with multiple social and economic problems. By no means is it like a perfect Catholic paradise, but it does have Catholicism as part of its culture. You can't really get in a taxi without you seeing a rosary hanging from the rearview mirror. Every taxi driver, when they go past the church, they will make the sign of the cross. Anytime you ask someone, how you doing, they won't just say, "Oh, I'm fine, thanks." They will say, "I'm fine, thanks to God." Catholicism is part of the culture in this country, and that influenced me. I saw how united the families were here. You see multiple generations of families living in the same home and, going on holiday together. I thought that was really strange. The fact that people would live with their parents into adulthood and their grandparents. I mean, obviously it's
Right.
also influenced by economic things, but the families just seem so much more united here. So that influenced me, and I don't really know where I started formally looking into Catholicism. I think I just noticed that a lot of the people that I was reading and listening to, a lot of them seemed to be Catholic, and they seemed to be quite cool people. That was influenced me as well. Like, I mean, you're one of them. I'd always had this idea of Christians in my mind as these kind of very strange people who are a bit superficially, like, over the top nice. I mean, the only really exposure to, like, Christianity that I'd had, apart from going to a Church of England school until I was 11, was my sister converted to the evangelical church when she was 18, and I went along to her church a few times when I was still a teenager, and that just really freaked me out. I saw people with their hands in the air and speaking in tongues, and all this. They just seemed very. I just didn't trust them. They just didn't seem real to me.
Yeah,
But
I know what you mean.
and I don't really know where it started, but the Catholics that I was reading and listening to, they just seemed like genuine, down-to-earth people, the kind of people that I would like to hang out with,
Yeah.
and the people, and they didn't seem like crazy religious ideologues. They seemed like intelligent people with multiple intellectual arguments for what they believe, not just spiritual arguments, but valid intellectual arguments that I found no good rebuttals to. And that over the years, step by step, I just moved more and more towards Catholicism until, last year I found myself, for the first time, going into a Catholic church. And I'd been kind of looking up churches online for like several months before, like trying to pluck up the courage to go to one. I was like, what happens if they see my tattoos? Will I get thrown out? Or,
Yeah.
To be honest, my first experience going to one wasn't that great because it was at the height of the pandemic. And it was very kind of strict about putting a mask on. You had to be socially distanced and have the mask and everything, so it didn't feel super welcoming.
Yeah.
So for a while, that I kind of just kept like reading and researching on my own without going to a church, and then I found myself, I bought a rosary beads and a little statue of Mary and a crucifix, and I put them up in my home, and I decided, this is now going to be a Catholic home.
Wow.
And it was actually thanks to your channel. I downloaded the Hallow app. I saw one of your adverts, and so I downloaded that because I had no idea how to pray a rosary at all. And so I just kind of, I remember getting on my knees and just,
Wow.
just saying, God, I'm so sorry, and just listening to the rosary on the Hallow app, and I was just listening along because I didn't know the prayers, and I just felt just at peace, and I just felt like, I don't know why, I just felt like this is what I need to be doing. And when I heard the I think it's the Fatima prayer, the Hail Holy Queen. When I heard that prayer, I mean, I almost fell off my seat when I when I heard that. It was like, it was just so beautiful, you know, just these prayers are just so beautiful. The words, there's just something about them. I don't know, but they just really, yeah, it just really affected me. And I've been trying to say a rosary every day since, and I've now learnt the prayers. So I now know them. But yeah, and then I started going to a local church, and started RCIA, and it's just, yeah, now I'm baptized.
If you like that clip, be sure to like and subscribe. Cheers.